I hope in the next 45 minutes I can change your mindset about the way you talk when you're at the table or before you get to the table. So the point I'm trying to really make is that, you know what, we are different. And because we are different, the kind of stories that we need to tell are also different. So if I sat down in a room today and gave you this generic storytelling talk, you may love it up until 9-10 p.m. tonight. The moment you sit in that cab, you'll probably say, that's great, those tips are fantastic. And you land at your work desk or you land at your place where you need to use that, and you'll suddenly find yourself in a space where it would not make sense to you because it is not the right kind of story. So the point I'm trying to make here is that we're different, and hence the kind of stories that you need to tell are also different. Let me ask you a question. Who can tell me who these ladies are? Anybody? So that's Catherine, Mary, and Dorothy. 3 women exactly at NASA who were actually the key brains behind putting John Glenn into the orbit, right? But the fact is that somebody had to make a movie and tell a story about them for the adulation for them to come around. Otherwise, till today, we don't know who they are, right? We don't know. A director, a man, had to put together a story, put it out in the world, and then we know. But our adulation is actually for the stars, not for them, right? Let's talk about the next people that I want to talk about. And if there's anybody from India in the room, then I'm hoping that you'd know who they are. Does anybody know? I don't expect non-Indian people to know who they are. Does anybody know who they are?
Wrestling.
Brilliant. I think that's fantastic that you know that. Okay, so these are 2 sisters who won gold for India in wrestling and Commonwealth Games. But that's not what's really exciting about them. What's really exciting about them is they come from a state in India where there is maximum female feticide. A state where girls are not even born, and they got into Lycra and fought and got a gold. But guess what? Nobody in India knew about them up until December 2016 because somebody had to make a story about them, make a film about them, and then the adulation happened. Because nobody knew they're existing. And maybe with the 3 NASA people, I'm talking about 60s or whenever it was. But with these ladies, I'm talking 2010 and 2014. What happened? It was the digital age. There was plenty of avenue to talk, but none of us knew who they were. We had to make a film on them. And then the adulation started to happen. Somebody had to tell a story around them. They themselves did not. I'm hoping the next person you'll know who is. Who's he? I promise you all know, because he's the best storyteller and he happens to be a man. He can get up and tell a story himself. He's the best corporate storyteller we've ever seen because he can get up and tell a story himself. He doesn't need a director. You know the 2 films that got made on him? That's not what got him the adulation. He had an ability to tell a story himself. But those women were just somewhere sitting quietly and doing whatever they needed to and not telling the stories that they should be telling. So my question really is, why do women become hidden figures and men become the best corporate storytellers? In my view, it all happens at the table. And this is the table I want to talk about today. I'm truly passionate about this. This is a table, a corporate table. The stories you tell when you're actually sitting on that table as a woman matter. And the stories you tell before even you've made it to that corporate table matter. 20 top most powerful women in the world, yeah? The list that came out in 2016. And these were the names. When I took all the politicians out of that, these were the corporate women that I was left with. And when I was looking at it, I saw something unique about this list. And I said, oh, about these faces. And I said, there's something different about this face over here. There's these faces over here. Can anybody pick what's different? There's this one thing that stands out here. Sorry? Oh, we can put on a good smile when we are on that list and we're being photographed. Tell me, is there anything that stands out for you? There's only one Asian woman there.
Yes.
Yeah? They're white. Brilliant. There's only one. There's one. Number 14. Yeah? So I said, I got to keep on the list to see how she talks. And so I kept her. And I'm personally a huge fan of Indra Nooyi because she's probably the best corporate women storyteller that you can find, and I will decode her language for you in a minute. What were quintessentially the two most common ways stories were told when we were little? Once upon a time and long, long time ago. Those are the only two types of time you will never use. Okay? Please don't use those two types of time. Because then it becomes this is all made up, right? But what is the point of starting with a time marker and a calendar marker? The reason we start with a time marker and a calendar marker is because the moment you say to an individual, it was in 2005, instantly the individual is going, I'm in for something true, something that really happened. It makes your story credible, authentic. It's something that has really happened. Second thing I wanted to tell you today, stop giving your views. Start giving stories that actually help conveying the views that you have. Because we are damn smart. We have fantastic views, except for nobody wants them. This is about a mindset, and I think mindsets are way more important than practical tips and techniques. Why do I say that? I say that because you can teach a child water is liquid. And if you took the child into Antarctica and Arctic or somewhere else, and you said, is water liquid? I hope the child asks, where are you? And then I will tell you whether the water is liquid or solid. Because if you can't teach someone to think, then you've not taught them anything. I think what is happening with the two types of stories that girls are nowadays telling themselves, both are around confidence. And the irony of it is, the one is about overconfidence and one is about underconfidence. No confidence. No big news. We all know this. 19%, you know what? Women are still underrepresented at every level, but that's the C-suite level. Even at the entry level in corporate workforce, women are underrepresented. And one of the big reasons why women are underrepresented, so you know these are some of the reasons, but one of the top reasons is they have very high standards. They actually have very high expectations out of themselves, so they do not apply for the roles. They do not apply for the roles, right? And that was proved by the study that HP did, which said that men apply for a job but they only meet 60% of the qualification, but women only apply when they meet 100% of the qualification. And you know what? This is a problem with the way we bring up the girls. Let's look at this. Why do you see girls always playing with dolls, home, friendship, that little thing that happens not in a sports way? Boys are always throwing ball, playing cricket, or jumping around, and just what we call just boys. So the fact that you can actually lose and be okay with it the training for that starts in boys very, very early. But girls, no, they don't get into sports. When I say sports, I don't mean formal training. What I mean is day-to-day play that happens at home. Girls don't get into sports until much later. And by the time they get into sports, it all becomes about competition. So you know what? They only want to get into it if they know they're going to win it, because losing to them, they're so losers. They don't want to compete unless they are 100% guaranteed that they are going to win. And I think that's got a lot to do with the lack of sportsmanship that we develop in girls. Girls need to play a lot more sport than they do. And when I say sport, I don't mean formal training. I'm sorry, because by the time you put them on a track, they're already damn competitive. A real story of true sportsmanship is this one. This was in Ohio State University. This girl called Mary, they were actually running on the Olympic. Media covered this story a lot. These two girls were running on track. One pushed the other. The other one said, okay, come, I'll run with you, rather than leaving the other one behind. They both ran close to the finishing line together, and then the best thing happened. The girl who actually dragged the one who fell down pushed the other one in front and said, you go first, at least you won't come last. And that's what we call sportsmanship. And this problem is overwhelm. You are forever overwhelmed, right? You're overwhelmed about work, about children, about this, about that. And I think that comes from overconfidence. Overwhelmingness comes from overconfidence. What am I going on about? Let me explain this to you. So I mentioned to you that confidence was described by Dr. Richard Patty as thoughts into action. Because we realized girls have this problem, that problem, this problem, we started telling the girls, you must do this, you can be whosoever you want. And then this overconfidence came into them that I can do whatever. I get a thought that I can climb a mountain, I will. I get a thought that I can actually do a corporate job, I will. They started saying, I can do whatever I think of. And the problem became, they wanted to start looking like Angelina Jolie, work like Sheryl Sandberg, be cook like Martha Stewart, and then they're overwhelmed. Just go back and see how many gadgets and devices. Why did the washing machine, microwave, mixer, blender, God knows what all never made girls' lives better. In fact, we are way more overwhelmed than we were because of not confidence, because of overconfidence. In our effort to actually want to get them to become, apply more for things and get more comfortable in the corporate environment, we've actually put this whole thing called overconfidence into them. I personally think overconfidence is not the right thing. We need to teach the girls, as much as we need to teach them sportsmanship, we need to teach them this thing called self-assurance. If confidence is about your ability to do whatever you want to, self-assurance is about choosing the one that matters to you and you want to do. To the women in this world, dream bigger, aim higher, fight harder, and when in doubt, tell a story, because you'll still be loved and liked. That's all I have to say.